Well, something we keep a close eye on here is the crisis of young men in the US. It's probably one of the most charged topics that we discuss, inevitably draws quite a bit of few toxic people in the discourse on all sides. But my biggest problem with the state of mainstream discourse is conflating toxicity with the idea that we don't have a serious problem. A stunning trove of new data from the Pew Research Group highlights just how big of a problem we have, one that soon could reach a total point of no return. The first is the rate of single young men versus single young women. 63% of young men today between the ages of 18 to 29 report being single. That is compared to 34% of young women. I guess in a vacuum, you could say, who cares, and let people do what they want. And I actually agree with that. The problem, though, is that what people want is downstream of a lot of societal inputs that we do have a say over. For example, the reason that math doesn't work out is very simple. Most of those younger women who aren't single are dating older men. Why? Well, they report stability of older men who are able to provide for them financially. Ergo, it's not necessarily that women want to date older men, it's that economically, younger men simply aren't able to attain the baseline necessary for women to want to partner with them. This isn't exactly popular to say, but it is now unambiguously true. The wage gap that Lehman feminists insisted was the biggest problem in our society in the 2010s, that's basically dead. For those between the ages of 34 and below, the wage gap stands at some $43 per week. We have now reached effective wage parity. Actually, in many U.S. cities, young women actually out-earn young men. In the most upwardly mobile cities, places like...
Yeah, I actually heard that women are actually out-earning men in a lot of cities now. I don't know if it's like that in the UK yet. I'm hearing over here that it's definitely starting to close. The gap is definitely starting to, and a lot of guys don't end up finishing university and college. A lot of girls end up finishing it. Does that make you happy?
No.
No?
Do you know what this takes me to?
What?
A video where I was very, very, very misunderstood.
Oh, yeah.
The video where I got slated for saying it's 50-50, which I understand it's not. Everyone proved me wrong. Well done.
Wait, were you talking about the private jets?
Yeah. However, the only reason I was saying what I was saying in that video is because the point I was making is in modern day now, there is a lot more women who are making a lot more money. It's not what it used to be. So that's all I was getting at, is that we're at a time in life where there is a lot of female millionaires, and something like that essentially is kind of, forget about millionaires, but there's a lot of well-earning women now. Women aren't so dependent on men anymore. Women make their own money, and a lot of women are successful.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot more women that are successful making their own money. I think the reason that you got pushback on that video is because at the top end, it's still heavily dominated by men.
I got pushed back because my stats were incorrect. Well, I didn't even look at stats, which I can understand, but that's not where my mindset was coming from when I was doing it. Obviously, we know I wasn't being completely serious with that back and forth with you, but the overall arcing point was the fact that we're in the year 2023 and there is a lot more successful women making their own money.
Yeah, no, there is. There's definitely an issue with men and finishing college and not earning as much anymore. And I know it's quick for people to say, "Yay, we're closing the gap," but there's a problem. Like if it's dropping quite significantly quickly, I think it's important to explore the reasons why men are dropping out of college so quick. They're much more likely to not finish college. How women have closed the gap quite significantly, quite quickly at like the corporate level, I guess, like in these inner cities and like, I don't know, contact centers and like your everyday businesses, women are starting to out earn men. I think that is worth exploring, because I was talking to somebody about it and they were just like elated at the idea that men were earning less money, and I was just like, I've never been elated at the fact that women were earning less. It's never like made me happy. So to see people getting happy about it, I was like, seems like some deep-rooted hatred there.
Like Los Angeles, New York City, young women earn 102% of young men earn. And even in these places where they don't earn more, they earn roughly the same as much as their young male counterparts in the workforce. Why might this be? Well, it's a trend pointing towards women out-earning men as time passes. It all goes back to college. Women now outnumber men in the U.S. college-educated workforce. Again, Why is this bad? Well, because higher wage jobs in our society are structured around having a bachelor's degree. A gender imbalance in graduates means a gender imbalance in wages, and in a decade, we are actually going to have the opposite wage gap in the United States. Wages, as we can see now, are directly tied to the dating market, where we have two pernicious things at play. Number one, wages aside, many college-educated women simply do not want to date someone who doesn't have a college degree. This sounds pretentious and snooty, but you can somewhat sympathize. College is a good proxy for whether you share the same social values, type of media you enjoy, city life, shared experience you can relate to. Number two, college is also a good proxy for whether you make decent money. So many women simply aren't culturally or economically interested in working class men. As the share of working class men rises, compared to the share of college-educated women rises, we now have a full-blown cultural crisis in our hands. The crisis is one mostly confined to awful conditions in male life. For all the talk in the media right now about teenage girls getting depressed, which is real, don't get me wrong, it's still not even close to as big as a problem right now as suicide amongst men. Right now, young men commit suicide at 4 times. Yes, 4 times the rate of younger women. Males
4 times. That's insane. But I don't even know what the fix is. I mean, obviously, finish college would be a start, but I think that's probably too simplistic. What is the reason for why men are dropping out of college?
This is the thing. Do you not think the depression rates and maybe the lack of love or being able to find love is taking away that motivation to complete college or fulfill further, you know?
I don't know if it's the way colleges are set up that make it hard for boys to like get through it. I mean, I know when I was in school, I was constantly getting in trouble because I couldn't sit still. And a lot of classes are designed for you to sit still and listen to the teacher. There's classes where you get more active, like you allow the children to express themselves more. And you know, young boys tend to be very rebellious. They want to get out there and do physical things. And I'm not saying that this is the problem. I'm not even like trying to make out like I have a solution here. I just remember being in school and finding it incredibly difficult to focus. And a lot of my female counterparts were at the top of the class because they were very good at just sitting there and listening to what the teacher was saying. A lot of the guys, they were getting excluded. They were getting detention. They were getting kicked out of the lesson. They were throwing paper airplanes around the class. I don't know if the way education is set up doesn't, like, men are just tuning out because it's not set up in a way that benefits them. And I'm not saying that's a cop-out. I'm not saying that, like, education definitely favors women. I'm just speaking from personal experience and the things that I saw around me, even in secondary school and college. There was a specific teacher in my college where I would listen to everything he had to say because he taught in a way that resonated with me. And I noticed a lot of the other men in that class, they would listen to him all the time. Like, everything he said, they would watch him, the way he was moving, the way he taught the class. And a lot of the girls were tuned out in that class. So I don't know if it's a learning style that where girls are doing better. But then, like, I don't know if I can really say that because every university course is going to be taught differently. If this is happening across the board and men are just dropping out, and as a result, women are not dating them because they're out earning them, so they don't feel like they need them, which I think is also another problem because as time goes on, if there is more and more men earning less than women, and women don't want to date these men, and then there becomes a gender pay gap on the flip side, then these women are also going to grow old and lonely because if there's less men earning, getting a bachelor's degree, there's only going to be so many men to go around that have bachelor's degree. This is going to have like a serious negative effect a couple years into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's like in America, but in the UK, you don't really need a degree to, say, get a good job or get far in life or even be able to get a partner. You know,
I don't know. I can see, like, having a degree opens a lot of doors for you.
It does, but for example, I just refer to myself. I've got a degree. I've never used it.
See, I don't.
It's not actually done anything for me.
Yeah, it comes down to the individual. Obviously, I think like I started working at a very young age and I built myself up, but not a lot of people do that. A lot of people will go through college and then drop out right at the end, and then they're kind of stuck. They've got all this debt. They don't really know where to turn. Luckily, I grew up working at a very young age, like very, very young, and I understood how to navigate certain workplaces to work my way, getting more pay and create more opportunities for myself. And I'm quite a determined person, so I can't use myself as the marker of what men should do or what's going on. But having a degree would have helped a lot. It's just, again, I would be sitting down, listening to these people talk, and I would just be like, I just can't. I always knew that I was driven by competition. I was very good in like debate club, when I was at uni. I was very good at debate club. I loved doing like physical things. Like I loved being like, even not necessarily just like being in the gym, but just like doing things with my hands, like getting in there and getting involved. But sitting down having to listen to someone, I was just like, and a lot of the guys in my class, they were doing the same thing, but the girls were locked in. I'm not saying that like I've got the solution, like we need to change the education system, but there are things that I've noticed in school where guys tend to tune out. I don't even know if I'm onto something or if I'm just chatting shit. Probably chatting shit.
Males make up nearly 80% of all suicides in the entire United States. How is that not the blaring headline across all outlets? But this actually underscores the issue. Nobody wants to talk about this because I think it validates toxic manosphere commentators. They would rather ignore it completely or deny that it's even a problem. Perhaps the most troubling part of the new data isn't just the rise in single men, but it's a growing nihilism that single men have towards relationships. The number of single American men who said that they are, quote, much less likely to be interested in starting any relationship of any kind increased a full 11% after the pandemic. It now stands at nearly 2/3 of all men. We are effectively in a vicious feedback loop. Societal factors say it's not a problem. Technology anesthetizes your brain better than ever before. Economically, you likely don't have a chance in hell at buying a house or vastly outpacing any female in the workplace based on your average wages. Why bother? Just do drugs, play games. To the extent that many men are even, quote, trying to date, many report that just means signing up for online dating and then not taking it all that seriously. Unsurprisingly, these attitudes are not all that attractive to women. Hence, they are bumping up the age bracket that they will consider to even date. The antisocial behavior does...
That is very true. I've heard so many guys saying they're checked out of dating. I've heard so many guys say that they're just not even bothering. Like I'm not blaming it on the manosphere. I'm not saying it's the red pillars' fault. I mean, I definitely don't think they're helping. That is happening a lot, and I mean personally, I think that being in a relationship, in a loving relationship where you're there for each other in the good and the bad, is better than going out there and just continuously just sleeping with everyone. That's just me personally. But I don't get onto guys for doing that. If they're having a good time, then that's fine. The problem is that they're not even doing that. Our generation and Gen Z are apparently, we're at record lows of intimacy. Like record lows, which is crazy because we're in the sexual liberation age. Like everyone's very liberal with their bodies.
I know, but I think it's the way dating has gone and the way it's done these days. But I don't think it's just men. I think that women are going through the same problem as well.
Well, the stats don't show that. I think there are some women going through it, and it's probably gone up for women, but proportionate to like men, not even close. I mean, just 80% of all suicide in America is men. Like. And then obviously the disproportionate amount of single men versus women. There's definitely a problem here. And specifically single young men. There's definitely a problem there. I don't think these dating apps help. I think they do end up killing people's confidence. I don't think Instagram helps because you end up going on there and seeing people that don't actually look like that in real life. It hurts your confidence. I mean, TikTok definitely doesn't help.
And people have too much options at their fingertips.
Yeah, a lot of people have the grass is greener on the other side rather than putting your feet in the ground and working on something with somebody in the highs and the lows. I don't know what the answer is because these social media apps are not going anywhere. They're only going to get more invasive. They're only going to continue to progress or regress depending on how you look at them. So I don't really know what the solution is. Like I said in one of the episodes we did before, if we both created Tinder profiles, I'm willing to bet my thing will be cobwebs. I'll probably get like one or two here and there. But if you created one, I guarantee you it would be, as we can do it as a social experiment.
I don't think yours would be cobwebs.
In comparison to yours, it would. And you know that. This isn't about looks or anything. You're a girl.
Pictures.
Even if you don't edit your pictures. If you don't edit your pictures and I do, you'll still get more matches than me. And it's not that I'm saying that I'm ugly. I'm saying that it's very easy for girls to go on online and just get dates, but girls are a lot more fussy with who they go on a date with. So they have the pick of the litter, which I'm not blaming women for. You know, if you have the pick of the litter, you have the pick of the litter. But you can see why guys are checking out a date, and it does become a bit frustrating.
Behavior doesn't just pertain to dating. It's all aspects of male life. The most recent survey of American life found that, quote, men appear to have suffered a far steeper decline than women. 30 years ago, a majority of men, 55%, reported having at least 6 close friends. Today, that number has been cut in half. Slightly more than 1 in 4 men have 6 or more close friends today. 15% of men have no close friends at all, a 5-fold increase since 1990. 500% in the number of men who say they have 0 close friendships. Women, on the other hand, see a slight decline in large numbers of friends, not even close to the same increase in complete friendlessness. Once again, it's a uniquely male phenomenon.
That's actually really sad. Like my friends mean so much to me, and I'm very lucky that I've had the same sort of friends since I was very little. And my group of friends, like I have more than 6 close friends, and I've always been very appreciative of having them. They're like family now. They're like all like brothers to me. They all have different personalities. We don't always agree on everything. You guys heard a voice in the background before. That's somebody that I've grown up with as well. But I feel sad for guys that don't have anyone there. I was talking to my friend, and I'm not going to divulge his information, but he told me that he felt like he didn't have any more friends, like any more close friends. It made me really upset because I felt lonely before, even though my boys have been there, but to actually have nobody there. And I told him that, like, if you feel a certain kind of way about something, and there's a chance for you to reach out and maybe save these friendships, always do it. I think guys need to stick together. Guys really need to stick together. You need to cultivate like a brotherhood and share things with your boys that you won't share with anybody else, because I have heard of this before where guys are just on their own. They have no friends. And I'm telling you, a guy on his own, completely on his own, completely lonely, will become they'll delve in nihilism way too much. And before you know it, you end up on some incel forum hating women and plotting some dastardly deed. I know that sounds a bit extreme, but I do think that guys need to stick together and cultivate healthy relationships. And don't listen to these idiots that are constantly saying, oh, male group chats are toxic and this, that, and the other. I'm in plenty of male group chats that are not toxic. That's all nonsense. They just demonize men for everything. Get in your group chats, talk that shit, have a bit of banter, and stick together. Don't let people start telling you that you can't make jokes and that. Jokes are what make the world go round.
That's true.
People with fewer friends report, unsurprisingly, being much more lonely, often find themselves relying on their parents in very tough moments, as opposed to a generation ago they would have called friends. You can't just blame technology because it's not happening to women as much. The spike, the increase everything, points to men. I don't know how you fix it. I have no earthly idea. But like with the book of Boys and Men by Richard Reeves, you have to acknowledge that we have a problem. You have to ruminate it, you have to debate it, you have to have everyone propose something, and then eventually you throw everything you can at it, because if we don't, I think the one thing that anyone can even remotely, who's historically literate, can say is that hell hath no fury like a bunch of single men with no prospects in society.
That's literally what I just said. A purposeless guy, a guy with no friends and no one to turn to, is a dangerous person. Nobody should wish that for any man. And if you know somebody that is very lonely, talk to them. Even if you're a woman, talk to them. Try to pull them out of that dark place. The last thing we need is lonely, isolated men. We've seen what they turn to. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not this. Obviously, lonely, isolated women, it can get ugly as well, but not nearly to the same level as men. Nowhere near. And that is, again, why I take serious exception to that clip where Jordan Peterson was crying about these incels, because they were normal people at one point and they got dragged into that culture. And it's not me making a defense of them, especially not the ones that do reprehensible things. But if there's an opportunity to pull these guys out of the dark and get them out into society and get them to see people in the same way that we do and get them to make friends and form brotherhoods, probably save people from a couple school shootings, and will probably save a couple people in their houses from somebody rolling up and doing something they shouldn't do, or stalking some girl when they shouldn't be. I really do think it's important for guys to stick together. And that is, again, I've had the same two of my friends. I've had them since I've been friends with one of them since playgroup, and the other one I met in year 2, which I don't know what that is in America, but very early on in elementary school. And then like your brother, for example, I've known him how long now? How old am I? 30. How long have I known him? Like 16 years, 15 years. Same with the other boys. And keep those people close. If you have disagreements, if things get heated, just calm down. It's not worth throwing away something, because when you work together, you're more likely to get better results. That goes for in the dating space, you know. Ever heard of having a good wingman when you're out? Good wingman can change the whole game for you. And there's nothing quite like a boys' holiday. Let me tell you that. They are good fun. Don't look at me like that.
I don't know if maybe schools could be doing better, could be doing something different.
Yeah, schools could probably be doing something different. Probably trying to identify problems before they get out of hand. The education system might need to change. I mean, the education system's been a bit of a mess for a long time. I don't really know what the answer is, but I always felt a bit like they were preparing you to be an employee rather than a CEO. That's what it always felt like to me. And maybe that fall in line mentality doesn't work for a lot of guys because, again, boys tend to be very rebellious. So
Yeah, but maybe if they just had, like, I don't know, groups, say, for people who haven't got friends, that could go to this group and make friends with other people who haven't got friends.
yeah, I think it's important to teach young boys how to be respectful of women and respect boundaries, and teach them how to treat people modestly and whatever. And I think it's important to like encourage brotherhood, like sports act, like playing basketball together, like doing boxing together, like doing physical activities. I think all of those things are very important. School trips, we went on a school trip to Bognor Regis, and that was a great time. They put me and my boys in one room, and to this day, I think I was like 11 years old. I still remember that trip very fondly. That was an important moment in my friendship with two of my friends in particular. I think more schools need to do that. Schools need more funding as it is. And then just in general, like the way we demonize men for everything, I don't think it's good. I know a lot of people are going to go, boo-hoo, you had it good for so long. But if history's taught you anything, you don't want men feeling disenfranchised. That's how wars start. That is how wars start. When guys get crazy ideas, all of us have to pay the price for it. So I think it's important that we try to figure out a solution to this problem here. I honestly don't think that the advice that people give where it's like, bitches get money, I don't think that's good advice either. I think that you should, again, learn to respect women and look for a woman that is also going to cultivate the good points in you and not amplify the negative parts of you. I do believe a woman can be your partner. And again, I do think that if you find a woman that, like, if you've got somebody that's got a very, like, their temper might be a bit up here, then find yourself like a woman that can, soothe you, like calm you down, like say, oh, like, we can get here, but you need to bring it down, You can't go all the way up here, but we'll bring it here.
Have you seen that picture of, like, that girl with Hulk and then she brings him back down to human again?
Yeah, and the Hulk and the Black Widow storyline is good because, again, the Hulk, it's like a metaphor for men, right? They tend to do crazy shit. I'm not saying that a woman's role is just to calm a guy down. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that it's important to find a partner that you can share a life with in the ups and downs and become a part of a community. Because usually when you're with somebody, you tend to mingle with more people. At least I found myself, I tend to be a bit more sociable with people that I wouldn't usually talk to when I've got a girl there that makes it easier for me to connect with them. I can be a little bit standoffish with certain types of people. So that helps me as well. Helps me talk to these people and understand them. There's loads of benefits for men and women being together. This whole like boss babe, oh, I don't need no man mentality and guys going their own way. It's all nonsense. It's not leading anywhere good. And eventually it's going to, something bad is probably going to happen or continuously happen. So yeah, I don't have a solution. I'm just rambling.